Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, in today's episode of Lawbree in Gentleland, just when you thought the thought Lawbriana could not get more distraught, he's dragged and dropped delightfully in the Diddy documents. But despite what you might think, the Toronto Twinkie Dink did not do anything with Diddy, but instead, he was exposed for possibly putting his petition printing pea-brained business behind Diddy's back and bringing Cassie out to Toronto to show her he's the home-wrecking head honcho. Now, make it rain on the like and subscribe buttons to the point where I'll need a poncho. Alright, Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, if you guys have been keeping up with the Diddy trial, there is some truly horrifying things that have been said. Cassie has been on the stand testifying for the last 2 days, and honestly, following this, I just pray for her because she has opened up about some absolutely horrible things, and all the while she's on the stand several months pregnant right now, unpacking all this trauma while she's about to have another baby. This is the farthest thing from easy. Very, very dark. And it shows incredible strength that you can, come out and be honest about this after, years, almost decades of torment and abuse. If you guys want a full video of me breaking down the entire trial front to back, everything that's been said, drop a comment. This has got to be definitely one of the darkest cases we've ever seen within hip-hop. And I mean, there's really no words to describe how strong Cassie is for going through all this. But just to give you guys a brief recap before we fully jump into things about specific rappers that were mentioned within Cassie's testimony. So before the trial started, we knew that there were allegations made against Diddy for allegedly lighting Kid Cudi's car on fire after he found out that Cudi and Cassie had been in a relationship. Cassie had actually spoken on this during her testimony, and we have a transcript of what she said from Inner City Press, who was present at the trial. So essentially, the prosecutor pulls out a picture of Kid Cudi and says, "This photo, who is it?" And Cassie says, "Scott Miscudi, known as Kid Cudi. We dated in 2011. Prosecutor says, "Did Sean find out?" aka Sean Combs. Diddy? Cassie says, "Yes, in my phone. Diddy went through my phone during a freakout. He found an email." The prosecutor asks, "What was the email about?" Cassie says, "Taking my toiletry bag to Cudi's house the next day. Diddy put a wine opener in his hand and threatened me. I called Cudi on a burner phone." The prosecutor said, "Where did you go?" Cassie said, "To Cudi's house. Then I talked with Capricorn Clark, one of Diddy's assistants. Then I went to the house that Diddy was staying at. He told me he would release videos and hurt Kid Cudi and I." The prosecutor asks, "What videos?" Cassie says, "Freak-off videos of me. Then Diddy kicks me in the back. I got a bruise." The prosecutor said, "Where'd you go?" Cassie said, "To my hotel with the burner phone. The room was torn up. Someone peed all over the floor, pooped in the toilet, and didn't flush it. It was gross. This was just before Christmas. I sent an email to my mom and Capricorn from my flight to Boston and Connecticut." The prosecutor said, "What'd you write?" Cassie said that Diddy said he would release the tape of me on Christmas and he would have Kid Cudi and I hurt. He said he'd be out of the country then." The prosecutor points out more pictures and says, "What are these photographs?" Cassie says, "My mother took them in Connecticut of the bruises on my back." The prosecutor says, "Were you entirely honest with your mother about the abuse?" Cassie says, "No, I said this was the first time." Then the prosecutor asks, "Well, did you tell her about the freak-offs?" And Cassie says, "No." The prosecutor also asks Cassie, "Did anyone come see you when you flew to Connecticut?" Cassie says, "Kid Cudi did for a few days. I broke it off with him. It became too dangerous. Diddy said he would hurt both of us." The prosecutor said, "Where did you go after Connecticut?" Cassie said, "I went to see Diddy. He was in Arizona, his son, college. I told my mother I was going to LA for work." Prosecutor says, "Did Diddy talk about Kid Cudi's car?" Cassie said, "Diddy said he wanted Kid Cudi's friends to see his car blown up. Then we met, me, Diddy, and Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi said, 'What about my vehicle?' And Diddy said, 'What vehicle?' And that was the end of the meeting." I bring this up to say this is the gravity of the situation, right? How severe things got. And that's not even fair to say, right? Things got a lot more severe within Cassie's testimony. And it's obvious that Diddy was more than okay burning everything to the ground, literally, not just figuratively, and being beyond invasive of Cassie's personal life and wreaking havoc on not just her, but everyone around her. Now, aside from Kid Cudi, there was another rapper mentioned within Cassie's testimony, but in a much more subtle way. But when you think of the timeline of things, which we will break everything down, there's definitely an interesting rabbit hole here, to say the least. So that would be none other than Mr. Lawbriana, the lawsuit lover. And he gets brought up indirectly as Cassie's being questioned on different time periods where she's, again, experiencing abuse by Diddy. So the prosecutor asks her, "Where were you going?" And she says, "To a music festival in Canada ran by Drake. Diddy came to my house and tried to attack me. I was thrown into the bed frame." The prosecutor holds up a picture and says, "What's this?" Cassie says, "A photo of my eye afterwards." The prosecutor asks, "Did you send the photo to Diddy?" Cassie says, "Yes, and I wrote, so you can remember. I wanted him to be sorry about it at least." Then the prosecutor holds up another picture and says, "In this photo, where were you?" And Cassie says, "In the green room in Toronto. I put my hair over my eye. Then we went to the Hamptons." And the events she's mentioning here are throughout the summer of 2013. And there's a couple interesting elements here that tie back to Drake's relationship with Diddy. So she's talking about going to a festival in Canada that Drake was putting together, right? Right before this, she says Diddy had attacked her, and there's a photo in the green room of that festival, of that Drake festival, where she's covering her bruised eye with her hair so that no one would be able to tell that she was suffering abuse. Now, how do we know that this was the OVO Fest in 2013? Well, there's a couple reasons, and this is where things get kind of weird, to say the least. So, Drake's 2013 OVO Fest took place on August 5th. By August 10th, we get an article from Vibe that read, "5 ways Cassie can benefit from signing to Drake's OVO Sound label." Now, we know that just by Cassie's testimony alone, in this case, she said she had signed to Diddy's Bad Boy label in around 2006 for a 10-album contract, and she had only released 1 album. So where were they jumping to the conclusion that she would now be signing to Drake's OVO label? Well, we'll get to what they say, but first, take a look at the photo featured within this article. You could see it's a picture of Drake, Diddy's artist French Montana, and Cassie. And if you look on Cassie's left side, she's covering her eye with her hair, the same way that the prosecutor described the image that they had shown throughout the trial, where she says she was in the green room at this Drake festival. So it's very likely that this is the photo that they're talking about right now within the trial. And the article says, "Last night the internet was buzzing with the rumor that Drake had signed Diddy's beau, Cassie. Nicole Bitchie had reported that a media-based newsletter, a music industry service that monitors radio station airplay in 180 US and Canadian markets, listed the former Bad Boys artist as a member of OVO. The newsletter had said R&B singer and occasional model Cassie, who had one of the biggest 2006 R&B crossover hits with the song Me and You, has since then been signed under Diddy, exclusive Bad Boy and Interscope distribution partnership, and has now inked another deal with Drake and Noah 40 Shabib's OVO Sound, their first big signing. Cassie is now preparing for a new single later this year, followed by her sophomore album next spring." So this is an official newsletter from the company Mediabase that, again, reports radio activity, right? So different labels and different artists sending their songs to radio. Mediabase basically covers which songs are now being sent to radio, which artists are signed to what label, and how those songs are performing on radio. They had announced that Cassie was now signed to Drake's OVO Sound, and she was preparing to release her next single later that year in 2013. And Mediabase is not some gossip column, right? Like, this is an official company that reports on legitimate things within the industry. For them to report that Cassie had now signed to Drake in 2013 and then we never hear anything about it again is definitely a little strange. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. And first, if you're doubtful that this picture was taken at that same festival that Cassie's talking about in her testimony right now, then let's do a little outfit check and you'll see how everything aligns. So again, in Cassie's testimony today, prosecutor asked her, "Where were you going?" She says, "To a music festival in Canada ran by Drake." At the same time she's planning on going to this festival, she says Diddy had come to her house and tried to attack her, and she was thrown onto the bed frame. That's where she gets the bruised eye, where she sends a picture of it to Diddy to say, "Look what you did," in attempts to make him feel sorry for it. Then the prosecutor shows her a photo of her in the green room where she's covering her eye. Now, you see this picture where Cassie's with Drake and French Montana and her eye is covered up, and they're all seemingly in the green room behind the OVO Fest. How do we know this was the same festival? Well, you could see here that this is a picture of French Montana performing at the festival, and he's wearing the exact same t-shirt on stage as he was wearing in this picture with Cassie and Drake. Drake also brought Diddy out as a guest during that same festival. And aside from that, you could see that the same t-shirt Drake is wearing in the photo with Cassie, he's also wearing on stage at the OVO Fest. Plus, he was also smart enough to drop a bunch of behind-the-scenes footage of this festival on his Plot Twist account. So you can see here the same hotel room, the same window curtain in this behind-the-scenes footage, and Drake is wearing the exact same shirt jacket thing in this video as well that he was wearing when he took that picture with Cassie, right? So it's pretty fair to say this was the OVO Fest that Cassie was discussing throughout the testimony. But why is this important? Well, like Cassie said during her testimony, right? She was on her way to this Drake festival when Diddy had abused her, left her with a bruised eye. The festival happens, Drake takes a picture with her, brings Diddy out on stage, and 5 days later, it's announced by Mediabase that Cassie is now signing to OVO. But we never hear this again. Aside from that article, that's the only time in history that it's mentioned that Cassie was signed to OVO. And it seems like things were cool between Drake and Diddy for a little bit of time. A couple months after the OVO Fest in February of 2014, we see Drake and Diddy on stage at a club performing, and Drake actually steals the microphone out of Diddy's hand. Then, in June of 2014, Diddy's on stage at Club Live and insinuates that the 0 to 100 beat was actually stolen by Drake from Diddy.
Sounds so crazy! Yeah. Hey, yo, I want to play this next beat, but I want somebody to get this on tape. I'm going to play this next beat. I gave this to this nigga that stole this shit from me, but at the end of the day, it's still hard. Play that shit. Being on some chill shit.
Then we get to December of 2014, where DJ Khaled is hosting a birthday party at that same club, Club Live, and everyone is there, from Khaled to Busta Rhymes to Lil Wayne, Ace Hood, if you guys remember him, and none other than Diddy with his then girlfriend Cassie and Drake. Now, shortly after, a bunch of industry insiders would come out to say that this altercation was over the 0 to 100 beat, right? You had Rick Ross's DJ, Sam Sneak, confirm that this was not over Cassie, but instead over the beat that Diddy felt like Drake stole from him. But when you read the reports when this altercation first happened in December of 2014, it tells a bit of a different story. So here's an article from the Miami News Times on December 8th, 2014. It reads, Diddy punches Drake at Live Miami. The world's most sensitive rapper got cold-cocked by the mogul with the softest name in the game. No bottles thrown, just a punch. Last night on Miami Beach, the world's most sensitive rapper got cold-cocked by the mogul. Hanging at Live Miami for DJ Khaled's The Temple birthday bash during Basil Week, Drake and Puff Daddy became embroiled in a dispute that ended with Drake saying the words, "You will not disrespect me," and Diddy throwing a knuckle sandwich. It was like a hip-hop celebrity edition of the knockout game. The early word was that Diddy wanted to give Drake the fade for hitting on his girlfriend. And again, Cassie was the one with Diddy in the club on DJ Khaled's birthday during this incident. But as witness and Maybach Music affiliate Sam Sneak tweeted, quote unquote, it definitely wasn't about Cassie. And I'm not here to necessarily speculate, right? Like, Sam Sneak is someone who was at this event and is closely tied to Rick Ross, who is closely tied to Diddy. So he does have incentive to maybe give the most accurate depiction of what really went down, or cover it up to make it seem like it was not some mess over a woman. But again, at the time, there were witnesses within this club who had stated differently. And right when the event went down, we heard very conflicting reports. This is what The Breakfast Club had to report, again, way back in December 8th, 2014.
The Rumor Report. Angela Yee.
It's The Rumor Report.
The Breakfast Club.
Well, we're getting a lot of eyewitness accounts about what happened with Diddy versus Drake at Club Live.
Okay.
Now, according to media takeout, the fight was over Cassie. Drake was drunk and all in Cassie's face and wouldn't back down.
Oh, you feeling yourself? You think you're going to be out here just smacking everybody's chick, huh, Aubrey?
But other people are saying it wasn't about that at all, but it did happen. There was an altercation. Now, we followed DJ Sam Sneak on Twitter. He said it definitely wasn't about Cassie. Drake is at the hospital. He dislocated his shoulder. Charlamagne, you don't laugh at other people's injuries.
I'm not laughing at other people's injuries. I'm laughing at Drake's injuries. It's different.
He said it'll come out soon. Y'all pray for Drake.
So you telling
me? He said Diddy put hands on that boy and he ain't go 0 to 100. That boy left.
So you telling me the OG Diddy hit him with a 3-piece? Now you gotta understand, Diddy 44, 45 years old, okay? He know how to throw a 3-piece.
Man, I didn't know Diddy was still doing stuff like that. Allegedly, we're still getting information, but we do know for a fact that people were there and something did happen between them.
I don't know if it's true or not, but just in case, I did send Diddy a text and I said, "You're my hero."
You sent him a kite.
I said, "You're my hero." You might have did it just in case. Just in case Drake has any intention of trying to talk to Cassie, Diddy had to let him know, like, it's not going down over here. It's just in case.
So as you can see, before the narrative became that this was over the 0 to 100 beat, the narrative was that this was over Drake actually flirting with Cassie and Diddy getting jealous. Again, this is all alleged here, but when you look at the timeline of Cassie recounting how right before they went to the Drake festival in 2013, Diddy had abused her. Right after the festival, you hear that she signed to Drake's OVO label, and then you never hear anything of that again. But things get even weirder. So first, you had 50 Cent speak on this issue, and you had Diddy himself both go on the Breakfast Club to address whether or not there was actually a fight between Drake and Diddy at that club. 50 Cent had said he believes that it was over the 0 to 100 beat because Diddy can't hear a hit. So it's likely that he had the beat, but he didn't do anything with it because he didn't have the ear to be able to decipher that that beat would be a hit. But Drake did because he's from the modern era, and Diddy can only tell what would have been a hit back in the 90s.
Puff can't hear a hit? That's kind of crazy, Fifth.
He still hear things from back then, that time period.
Oh, got you.
You play it for him right now, and it's hot. He can't buy it. This is why he's fighting Drake. When you hit Drake, because he used the beat that he didn't actually use
0 to 100.
Right, you see what I'm saying? So if he heard it, and then he heard Drake's use it, but it wasn't a hit yet until Drake put the lines on the record. And he's upset about that because he can't hear it, but he felt like he took something from him.
You also had Diddy, who claimed that he never even did hit Drake, but I wouldn't necessarily take his word on anything.
I did not put hands on Drake.
Oh.
And I do not want any problems with Drake.
Yeah, what happened to the beat, the 0 to 100? They said that was your record at first. Was there any truth to that? Even there was a clip of you at a club.
Yeah. There was a 0 to 100 was my record, and then there became just a misunderstanding because we was working with the same producers. Honestly, it was a misunderstanding. Honestly, Drake is actually my favorite rapper.
And while Diddy saying it never happened, eyewitnesses had said that it might have been over Cassie. Other industry insiders had said it was over the 0 to 100 beat. Whatever it was over, it left Drake in the hospital emergency room with a broken collarbone. Then we get to 2015, where Drake hops on a track with LA rapper The Game, and on there, Game raps, "People call me to set you up, want me to come and wet you up because you a out-of-town guy. Like Biggie, heard about the stuff with Diddy, so I came through to vest you up." Game here is essentially implying that there was a hit out for Drake when he came to LA, obviously Drake being an out-of-town guy, and the Game references how he heard about the stuff with Diddy, so he came in to protect Drake. And years later, the Game actually did an interview claiming that he warned Drake about Diddy trying to quote-unquote run up on him. So in the interview, he revealed that following Diddy and Drake's altercation over the 0 to 100 beat, there were quote-unquote calls going around to LA who would run up on Drake. I'm quoting the Game here. He said, "I'm not saying it didn't come from Diddy directly, but LA gets tricky. So when there are beefs and they are here, there are certain people who are going to get called, and I'm one of those people. So I had privy Drake to a little information. I don't know where it came from, but it's like my brother. So I hit him and I told him, yo, this is what it is." And now we get to 2016, where Drake releases one of his timestamp records, 4 p.m. in Calabasas. And it's on this record where Drake, for the first time, actually speaks on and reflects on his issues with Diddy. And knowing what we know now with this trial that's going on, these lyrics kind of get a little more interesting or have a little added layer to them. So Drake raps, "The higher I get, the less they accept me. I even had the OGs trying to press me. Ha 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 ha. No way out because I'm already in it." Now, the way Drake says ha 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 is the same way Diddy said it during his song Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. And Drake saying no way out because I'm already in it is also a reference to Diddy's album No Way Out. He continues rapping, and this isn't about Diddy, but I thought it was funny. Even back when I wasn't as poppin', when they told me to take an R&B guy on the road and I told them no and drew for Kendrick and Rocky, I'm trying to make the right choices with the world watching. It's crazy how about 8 years later, both Rocky and Kendrick would come for Drake's head. But Drake continues taking aim at Diddy, saying, "Look at me now, they look at me like the golden child. Can't nobody hold me down." And the way he says "can't nobody hold me down" is a direct interpolation of Diddy's song Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. Remember, a couple bars before, he's talking about the OGs trying to press him. He continues referencing Diddy, saying certain stuff is too wild to reconcile. Take that, no love in their heart, so they fake that, DiCaprio level the way they play at. Damn, what is that? And obviously the take that is in reference to Diddy's iconic catchphrase where he says literally, take that, take that. And Drake is saying certain stuff is too wild to reconcile. It's too wild to get over. He's also saying no love in their heart, so they fake that. Remember, we just played the clip of Diddy saying he never actually got in a fight with Drake, and in fact, Drake is his favorite rapper. Obviously, that's fake love, right? He's lying about the situation. No love in their heart. And Drake and Diddy actually have a collaboration from 2010 called Lovin' You No More. No love in their heart. But this is where it gets really interesting, and what we know now, it sounds like he's talking to Diddy directly. Drake raps, y'all don't hear no songs, they hit my phone like, you did that? They even hit my line like, where you been at? It's always on some stuff like, when can I get a favor? Or, where my girl at? Like, I'm about to tell you where she been at. Costa Carreras, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, I got her kidnapped. She ain't sorry and I ain't sorry. It's too late for sorry. Now, at the time, Drake was also beefing with Joe Budden, and this is how crazy Drake is with other people's women. At the time, there were two other women aside from Diddy that people thought this bar was aimed at. One was Joe Budden because Drake and Joe Budden's ex, Tahiri Joes, were on vacation together, and also Justin Bieber's ex-girlfriend at the time, who he's now married to, Hailey Baldwin, because Drake was spotted with her wearing the same kind of necklace after they allegedly dated in June of that same year, 2016. And of course, with the bars, she ain't sorry and I ain't sorry, it's too late for sorry, Justin Bieber had a song at the time called Sorry, is it too late now to say sorry? But why this could really be a triple entendre, and he could be talking about all three of these men's women, Joe Budden, Justin Bieber, and Diddy, is because, again, if you look at the few bars before this, not only is Drake referencing Diddy albums, Diddy songs, and Diddy catchphrases, he also raps, y'all don't hear no songs, they hit my phone, you did that? Again, it was rumored that Diddy had heard the 0 to 100 beat from Drake's producer, Boy Wonder, and wanted Drake to get on it. But then Drake took the song and made it his own, and so here he's saying Diddy had heard it, y'all don't hear no songs, like Diddy had the beat, but he wasn't actually hearing the vision, he wasn't hearing the song. Then Drake does it, and Diddy goes to him and says, oh, you did that? You made that song? There was also rumors that Diddy wanted Drake to ghostwrite for him for that beat, and Drake says here, it's always on some stuff like, when can I get a favor? And then he follows it up saying, or where my girl's at, like I'm about to tell you where she been at. Just a really sneaky way to possibly reference the fact that maybe there was an affiliation between Drake and Cassie that we don't know about, right? Because a bar before this, he's talking about how Diddy was surprised to hear Drake on the 0 to 100 beat, asking Drake for favors. He's referencing all these Diddy catchphrases and songs, and he ends the refrain off by saying, they're always hitting me like, where my girl at? He references Diddy again when he raps, Chubbs be like, Drake, will you please stop smoking Lala? Chubbs, why try? I'm a thug, I'm a die high. Here, Drake is referencing Diddy and Mace's song, Can't Nobody Hold Me Down, which this 4 p.m. in Calabasas song also samples, and in that song, Mace raps, Mace, can you please stop smoking Lala? Puff, why try? I'm a thug, I'm a die high. So here Drake replaces himself with Mace and replaces Chubbs with Diddy. More Diddy references when Drake raps, meanwhile Drizzy over there trying to make you dance to this. He raps this in the same style that Diddy raps the lines, let the party people dance to this on his song, Diddy. Then he references Diddy again when he raps, don't push me cause I'm way too easy nowadays. Same song, can't nobody hold me down. The hook, Diddy raps it in the same way when he says, don't push us cause we're too close to the edge. And he caps the song off rapping, these guys move so greasy nowadays. I tell you my life and y'all don't believe me when I say it. Save my stories for down the line. I'm too ahead of the curve every time. Just total the hits and you'll see what you find. You SWV cause you weak and I'm always on your mind. Now, Total and SWV were two 90s female R&B groups and they were both rivaling each other, and Total was actually signed to Diddy's record label, Bad Boy Records. And then Drake gives us a little outro on that track where again he makes a callback to Diddy's song Can't Nobody Hold Me Down when he says, yeah, and we can't stop, make you dance to this, I'ma make you one dance to this, ah ha 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 ha, bad breed, bad boy, yeah, that's right. So interesting, right? A lot of references to Diddy on this record, the most interesting one being when he references the fact that Diddy has been showing him fake love, is surprised by the fact that Drake took the song and actually made it a real song, and then he says, I only hear about you when you're asking where my favors or where my girl's at. And if we rewind the timeline, knowing what we know now with this testimony, Cassie had been planning on going with Diddy to the OVO Fest. He allegedly had abused her the day they were going. She hides her bruised eye in a photo with Drake. It's announced that she's going to be signing to Drake's label. Then we don't hear anything about that again. Then she shows up to this party with Diddy where he gets in a fight with Drake. There's rumors that it was about her. The story ends up concluding with the fact that it was about the 0 to 100 beat, but when Drake references it on this song, he claims that along with some ghostwriting favors and some questions over music, this mysterious person is also questioning where his girl is, and that Drake is on an island with her in Mexico, and that they're both not sorry. Just a strange timeline, and it is important to note that later that year, November of 2016, Drake and Diddy were both seen on French Montana's yacht at a party, seemingly in good spirits, like the whole thing was patched up. But in 2020, they did get on Instagram Live together for a very weird live stream where Diddy was questioning whether or not they still had beef. So I guess it was all up in the air. And again, this is, 2 years after, according to Cassie's testimony, that Diddy and her had broken up. They broke up for the last time in 2018.
I have to ask, how's the music coming? Because whenever you start like all of a sudden just dropping something and then you dancing and you're going through the house is crazy. Thank you for the painting on the wall and everything. I saw you point at me, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know if we still had beef or anything like that. I was like, no, man, it's crazy. He's showing, I said he's showing out. He got fireworks in the backyard. I said, yo, man, he got the causes winking and all that. I was like, yo, and then I got you and we was talking. And just the overall love that you showed me is incredible, but the crib is crazy.
Thank you.
The crib is crazy.
It's yours. It's yours anytime. You let me know when you're on this.
Okay.
Drake's house is Diddy's anytime he wants it. I don't know what he means by that. And it gets even weirder when Drake says this.
Same thing, following your footsteps. Every night we're out here pounding the pavement, doing what we can do, and we all take care of each other. So it's like you passing the traditions and the hustle onto us. We appreciate it, man. For real.
Yeah, no doubt. Love.
Obviously, you want to talk about studying, talking about.
Love you, bro.
So yeah, he learned how to pound the pavement from Diddy himself. I don't know about all this, man, but maybe you can add Diddy to the long list of people who got their girls taken from them from Drake, right? You have Chris Brown, The Weeknd, Future, A$AP Rocky, Lil Wayne. Remember when Kendrick rapped effed on Wayne's girl while he was in jail? That's conniving to get his face tatted like a bee apologizing. I mean, that whole 20v1 could have been over some women too, right? Future talking about Drake was pillow talking. There was that girl Just Tokyo. You had Drake flying Rick Ross's ex-girlfriend out to one of his concerts during that time. Him and A$AP Rocky trading shots about how they were with each other's baby mamas. And this whole time on 4 p.m. in Calabasas, 8 years ago in 2016, Drake was referencing Diddy throughout the entire record and mentioned that someone was looking for their girl. The timeline is interesting, but let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one.